What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Draftkings MMA picks for UFC Vegas 22. We have Derek Brunson versus Kevin Holland, which should be a very fun main event. We have a great co-main event of Brad Riddell versus Gregor Gillespie, and some really fun fights scattered throughout the card. And I think this is going to be a fun card for DraftKings especially. I see there being a lot of high scores. There's a lot of guys with some really high ceilings, so that's always fun. And of course, it's always another opportunity to make some money as well. So before I get into the picks, if you can leave a like on the video, it does help out a ton. Subscribe if you have not yet. Again, does help out a ton. And yeah, so let's get into it, starting with the fight doesn't go to decision lines. There are four that really stick out to me. And we're going to start with Tai Tuivasa versus Harry Hunsucker, minus 600. Fight doesn't go to decision. On some books, it's sitting at like minus 700, and it's safe to say this fight's going to end inside the distance, and it's probably safe to say this fight's going to end inside the first round. Harry Hunsucker has never seen the second round, and I don't think he's seen the 4-minute mark of the first round, and this is a guy that's coming in on short notice as well. I see this ending early. If Hunsucker wins, it's going to be very early. If Tai Tuivasa wins, I think it's going to be very early as well. So I think there's first round floors for each guy. I'm going to be playing both sides here, but with a really strong lean on Tai Tuivasa. I mean, he's minus 450 in this fight. On some books, he's minus 475, minus 500, and rightfully so. I mean, he's been on a camp. He's ready for this fight. He's prepared. Unlike Hunsucker coming in here on 3 days' notice. So, and plus, I think Tai Tuivasa is the much better fighter as well. So Hunsucker's lost to guys like Dontel Mays, Jared Vandera, and he's been knocked out 3 times. So I like Tai Tuivasa a ton in this fight. I love his price of $8,900, but at the same time, we'll have some Hunsucker because he is so cheap, $6,900, I believe he is. And if he does win, it's going to be in the first round. It's going to be in the first couple minutes. So yeah, but I do like Tai Tuivasa quite a bit. Next, we have Montel Jackson versus Jesse Strader. I like Jackson a ton. I think it's a great cash game play. Minus 250. Fight doesn't go to decision. Strader, very wild, very dangerous guy. He's going to try to get Jackson out of there. If he does not succeed, I think he's going to get finished himself. I feel like Jackson can take this fight down to the mat and probably submit Strader pretty easily. It's just the level of competition between the two is a big margin, and the level of skill between the two is a really big margin. I think Jackson's better in every single aspect of this fight by a ton. So Jackson should absolutely win. He has a minus 700, minus 800 on some books as well. But Jesse Strader's dangerous. If he wins, it's probably going to be by a finish. And although Montel Jackson's never been knocked out, anything's possible. But I'm going to have the majority of my lineups with Montel Jackson in them. But I will sprinkle on some Strader just because of the way he fights and how dangerous he is. Next, we have Adrian Yanez versus Gustavo Lopez, and what I think is probably the most exciting fight on the card. Adrian Yanez has a lot of hype on him, has had 2 very good knockouts, one in the Contender Series, one in his UFC debut. So the hype is definitely building up, but I think people are really sleeping on Gustavo Lopez. And, don't get me wrong, I'm taking Yanez in this fight, but I don't necessarily agree with the 8,800 here. And I think there's a big, like, $1,400 discrepancy between the two. I feel like this fight can play out a lot closer, especially if Gustavo Lopez can go for takedowns, get this fight down to the mat, and, extend this fight as well. So I like Yanez to win. I think it's a great play, but at the same time, if you're looking for a dog with some upside, I think Gustavo Lopez at 7,400 is not the worst option in the world, and it's minus 205. Fight doesn't go to decision. I think this does finish either way, whether it is a Yanez knockout, which I think is the most likely outcome, but I wouldn't count out Lopez. And then the main event, we have minus 190. Fight doesn't go to decision. Yeah, I mean, I think if Holland wins, it's going to be in the first couple rounds. I think if Brunson wins, it's probably by decision, maybe a late finish as well. Yeah, this is a fight I'm going to want to have both sides of. I'm, leaning towards maybe going 100% total on it because, just the pricing. Kevin Holland, 8,400. Derek Brunson, 7,800. You get that 5 rounds to work with. And, if Holland does win, I don't think we'll need those 5 rounds. I think if Holland wins, it's going to be early. But, I guess my lean is going to be Holland, but the price savings of Brunson at 7,800 makes him a very good underdog you're going to want to look at. I'm going to have both sides here. Like I said, maybe a slight lean on Holland, maybe a 55-45. I don't know if I'll split it right down the middle, but I do think I want both sides of this fight for sure. So getting into the core plays here, lots of high prices, but, really can't ignore these guys. Montel Jackson, 9,400. He's like minus 800 to win. Jesse Strader, I don't think belongs in the UFC. I think the skill gap's tremendous between the two. I think Jackson should absolutely go out here and probably finish the fight in the first round, honestly. Whether he's knocking out Jesse Strader, who I've seen him hurt by guys in the regional scene with very questionable records, or even just taking down Strader and submitting him. Montel Jackson was able to submit somebody like Brian Kelleher. So I do think the submission's live. I think the knockout's live. I think the first round's live, and Jackson should absolutely win this fight. I have him in cash. I think he's a great tournament play as well. Next, we have Gregor Gillespie, 9,000. Probably my favorite play on the slate. Probably going to be my highest owned just because of the new DraftKings scoring system and how it does favor the wrestler grapplers, and that's exactly what Gillespie is. He's averaging 7 takedowns per 15 minutes, and Brad Riddell has struggled with that takedown defense. It's sitting at 60%, and he has been taken down a good 14 or 15 times in the UFC so far, and this is going to be absolutely the best wrestler and best grappler that Brad Riddell has faced thus far in the UFC. I do think Gillespie has a really good chance of honestly finishing this fight by submission. Brad Riddell's one loss was by submission, and Gillespie is going to go after it. He's going to get takedowns. Brad Riddell has a good get-up game, which makes me like Gillespie even more, I think. I wouldn't be completely shocked if Gillespie got, like 10 takedowns, honestly. So give me Gillespie here. Going to have him in the majority of my lineups. I think there's an extremely high ceiling on Gillespie in this fight. And then Kevin Holland, 8,400. It's kind of a tough fight to call, but I do want exposure to this main event. I'm going to have Holland in a ton of lineups. He's dangerous. I guess the one concern I have is the takedown defense of Holland, and Brunson has good wrestling, but going through the career, Brunson, his top control is not all that great, and we just saw how dangerous Kevin Holland is off his back. He throws up submissions. He's a black belt in BJJ as well, so I do like Holland to win this fight. I like the price, 8,400. I think if he wins, it is by finish, so I'm going to have a really decent amount of Holland, but kind of iffy on it as a whole, but yeah, I'll have both sides here, but I think I'll lean with the Holland side and have a little bit more Holland. And then we have Tai Tuivasa, 8,900, going against Harry Hunsucker. I do think he wins. I think he wins in the first round. I would be honestly shocked if it does go into the second round. If it does go to the second round, I don't know if Hunsucker will be able to get off the stool. So I like Tuivasa. I think he's a much better fighter. He's fought the much better competition. He has a good chin on him. And Hunsucker's only path to victory is clipping Tai Tuivasa, which I don't think is all that likely, or taking down Tai Tuivasa and submitting him, which again, I don't think that's all that likely as well. So I like Tuivasa. Going to have a ton of them. I think he has a really nice floor because I think this does end in the first round. Getting into our GBP plays, our tournament plays, Adrian Yanez, 8,800. Yeah, I think he's going to be the better striker in this matchup. Gustavo Lopez has been dropped quite a bit. I've seen him dropped a ton on the regional scene, and he's also been knocked out 2 or 3 times as well. So I think the knockout for Yanez is very live. I think the first round knockout for Yanez is very live. If this does get extended, I still think I'll be fine, but I think it could be a little bit closer than the line indicates. But overall, this is a fight you're going to want to target. I think it scores pretty high, just with the stylistic matchup between the two. So I like Yanez. I think is a great play, 8,800. Don't hate that whatsoever. But I do think it'll be a little bit over-owned probably because of the hype on Yanez. Everybody's talking about him. Nobody's really going with Lopez, so that kind of concerns me there, but I do think he does probably get that knockout. Roman Dolidze, 8,200. Yeah, I like Dolidze quite a bit. He went to his first decision in his last fight against John Alon. I thought there was multiple opportunities for him to finish John Alon there, but in this fight, he needs to get it down to the mat. Even if he doesn't, I think he's fine. But if he gets his fight down to the mat, I think the submission is very live. Trevin Giles has been submitted in both of his losses. He almost got submitted by James Krause and was controlled for a full round when Krause took that fight on like a day's notice. So Dolidze is going to be the bigger fighter in this matchup. I was surprised to see at weigh-ins how much bigger Dolidze was. He does look a little bit on the skinny side after dropping down from 205 to 185, but I do think he's going to rehydrate and look pretty big by fight time. So I like Dolidze. I want to go crazy on it, but I think he has a very good chance of winning this fight. I think he has a very good chance of finishing this fight as well if he does come in with the right game plan. But we saw in his last fight that he doesn't have the best IQ. So I'd kind of tread lightly, kind of play both sides, but my strong lean is going to be Roman Dolidze to win, probably by a submission. JP Buys, 8,300. I'm not necessarily picking Buys to win, but if Buys does win this fight, it's probably going to be in the first round. He comes out very fast, great wrestling, but after that first round, he does slow down quite a bit, just with the style he brings. He searches for that early finish, so I'm kind of leaning more towards he does not get that early finish, and he does slow down, and Silva takes over, but if he does win, it's probably in the first round, and for that reason, I do like Buys as a tournament play, GBP play here. I'm going to have a decent amount of them, but I'm not necessarily picking him to win. And now we have Max Griffin, 8,500. Yeah, it's just a new scoring system for me. Typically, this is a guy I would not want to play without the new scoring system because he doesn't really throw many strikes, doesn't really go for that many takedowns. But in this fight, he should absolutely go for takedowns. Song has like a 45% takedown defense. And Griffin needs to come in here with the mindset of getting this fight down to the mat and doing it early and often. And he has an easy win here. So give me Griffin. I think there's going to be control time, takedowns, and it's all going to add up. I think with this new scoring system, he has a pretty decent ceiling. I don't think it's a crazy ceiling. I don't see him getting a finish. I don't see him landing a ton, but I do think he wins, and I do think he does rack up those takedowns, that control time, which probably does add up. And it's just a great stylistic match for Max Griffin as well. But with that said, if he does not get this fight down to the mat, he is in danger of getting knocked out. Song's one path to victory, in my opinion, is going to be getting the knockout here, and that's why I don't hate, some shares on Song as well. But with that also said, Max Griffin has only been knocked out once in his entire career. Very durable guy, so I do like Max Griffin to win quite a bit. All right, now we have Grant Dawson, 8,600. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I mean, Grant Dawson is somebody that typically scores very well. I do think, 8,600 is not bad for him. I'm kind of back and forth on picking a winner on this fight, but Dawson's going to be the much younger fighter by, I think, like, what a good, 13 or 14 years younger than Leonardo Santos, who is 41 years old, Grant Dawson, 27. And I just think that, having the cardio advantage here, the output advantage is going to allow Dawson to win this fight. I'm curious to see what happens if Dawson does get this fight down to the mat, or if he can get this fight down to the mat, because Santos does have very good takedown defense, obviously very good BJJ. So, I don't know, I think this fight's close, but I feel like the winner score is decently high, but I'm going to favor Dawson as a straight-up pick because he's going to have the youth, the volume, and the cardio, which I think are three really big things. And maybe he does get Santos down. Maybe there is a lot of control time up against the cage and the volume aspect as well. And I wouldn't be shocked if there's a late finish for Dawson as well, because Santos does slow down as the fight goes on. So yeah, don't hate Dawson as a tournament play there. Getting to the live dogs, talked about it a little bit. Derek Brunson, I'm going to have a decent amount. I mean, he has a clear path to victory. That is getting takedowns. It's just, I think the most takedowns Brunson has gotten in a fight was like maybe 4 or 5 takedowns. So yeah, I don't know if he's going to come in here with the game plan of just, chain wrestling takedown after takedown, because Holland is hard to hold down. So, if Holland's able to stand up, and I think he can, it's going to take a lot of the gas tank of Derek Brunson, somebody that typically does slow down as the fight goes on, and so does Holland. But I'm curious to see how these two look in the later rounds if it gets there. But yeah, Brunson does have a clear path to victory, getting the takedowns, getting the top control, but it's just Holland is dangerous off his back. He is hard to hold down, so I'm leaning towards the Holland side. But yeah, 7,800 is not a bad look for Brunson, because if he does win, it's probably based off of a wrestling heavy approach, which is going to score massively, and I do think he's going to be the lower owned out of between him and Holland as well. So I don't hate Brunson as a live dog. I'll have a decent share of him. Leonardo Santos, 7,600, I talked about him a little bit. If he wins, it's probably going to be by some type of finish. I don't see him winning by decision. He could submit Grant Dawson if Dawson does choose to take him down. We saw Dawson almost get submitted by Derek Minner. Derek Minner was so close to submitting him. I thought he was going to pull it off. But, Leonardo Santos is like a 7-time champion in BJJ. I think he's like a 3rd-degree black belt. I mean, the guy's, absolutely legit. So, yeah, Dawson could get subbed here. And I also think the knockout is live for Leonardo Santos as well. Dawson, 50% striking defense, extremely hittable. And his one loss, he was knocked out. So, Santos does hit very hard. I think the knockout could be there. But if not, Santos probably loses the decision. But I think is a decent underdog to target, because if he does win, I do see finish upside for him. Bruno Silva, 7,900. I'm kind of banking on him surviving the early storm of Bays, taking over as the fight goes on. I think he can get takedowns himself. I've seen Bays taken down. I've seen him controlled. I've seen him, not look too great off his back, especially in the later rounds. He kind of gives up. It looks like doesn't have much to offer off his back if it does get past the first round. And guys just, ground and pound him and get the win. So I kind of see Silva getting a late finish here if he's able to survive that early storm of Bays. And I think he does. So I think Silva's one of my more favorite underdog plays on the slate. I think he's very live if he does survive that early storm in the first round. And then Song here, 7,700. I mean, he's somebody that if he wins the fight, it's going to be by knockout. He's not going to win a decision. He's low volume. He's going to be taken down. He's obviously not going to win by submission. If he wins, it's going to be by knockout. But Max Griffin, he's very tough. He's very durable. He's been knocked out one time in like 24 fights, 25 fights. But Song has some power, so I think Song's live. I'll have some of them. I don't love it, but if he does win, he will win by finish. Getting into our punt plays, there's not much here in the punt range I like. I mean, Brad Riddell, people are probably going to be targeting him. I think Montserrat Ruiz is not the worst underdog play in the world, but I guess if I was to pick one, it'd be Harry Hunsucker, 6,900, because if he wins, it's going to be in the first minute. It's going to be in the first 2 minutes. And is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. It's heavyweight. I'm leaning towards it doesn't happen, but we've seen crazier things happen before, and this guy, he's going to come forward. He's going to be reckless. He's going to look for that early finish because he knows he does not have the cardio to get into that second round, especially on short notice. So he's not the worst punt option in the world. I will have some Harry Hunsucker, but I do think Tai Tuivasa knocks him out early. And then my fade, Cheyenne Bays, 9,100. It's really hard to get there with Gregor Gillespie up there, with Montel Jackson up there, with Tai Tuivasa up there. It's just really hard to get to Cheyenne Bays. 20% finish rate. This is going to decision, so probably not going to get there all that much, if any at all, of Cheyenne Bays. I think there's much better options to work with. And that's about it, guys. Thank you for watching. Just a reminder, you can always become a member of my Patreon and receive full access to my model with the premium projections, the GPP lineup percentages, the Draftkings article, and of course, access to Discord and all the stats for all the fighters, which is very, very useful. Does help me a lot as well. So, yeah, should be a fun week. Should be a lot of finishes. Should be a lot of high scores. Hopefully, we have 11 fights now. We did just lose the Jolie Avila fight, which sucks. We're down to 11, which is still pretty decent. I think it's a decent card, and of course, ready to win some money. So good luck, guys, on Saturday, and talk to you soon.